Alright, let's do this VOD review, I guess. Masters Orisa? Looks like.
Hey team.
Unable to
Your
invite.
safety is my primary concern.
This is the time of year to think about
Cheers. So,
everything we have to be thankful
okay, you're doing the Sigma. That's nice.
Tressa, is it wrong for us to operate outside the law?
Difficult question, Orisa. I think there are
probably
times
heard
when
that.
you just have to do what's
Oh well. Let's get forward a bit.
Activating the barrier.
Right. Let's see.
Do you have rush? Or cool?
Pretty sure you're the one with that ability.
Yeah, McCree right. Get this McCree.
Nice pull. Nice shove. So far.
Oh, they're wrestling, and McCree's behind.
Reading expected combat value. Some functionality, some functionality,
Alright.
some functionality makes sense.
I'm actually gonna shoot you guys.
That's pretty good so far.
You can pull. You see something?
Oh, if I.
So one thing you can do, just two things on Orisa. You can pull up, like, number one, I guess, you can pull up. So, if
You
it
can
calls
pull.
for pull,
You see something?
and you pull right here. If you pull like here, it pulls them up. That's time for your team to do stuff, shoot them, and when they drop down, that's more time for your team to do stuff too. There we go. So yeah, definitely consider pulling up sometimes. You don't have to, but it does make it easier sometimes when you do that. Oh, second thing. I guess the fight's already started out, but you can shoot your... If you're just waiting, fight hasn't really started out yet, you know you want another shield here. You don't plan on moving the shield anytime soon. You can shoot your shield up, but you still have the shield. You can shoot the shield up into the air, like look straight up, shoot it, and then by the time it falls down, this one will be already broken or something, and then you'll get a new shield. But the cooldown starts counting down as soon as you shoot a shield. So you can still have one shield up and another one in the air that you're not using yet, but you're still counting down. So you'd get another shield.
Oh, if I see something. Yeah, McCree's on the point. One.
Okay, I'm on it.
So you place down your shield and then you walk right by it.
Oh, monk. Yeah, come.
Fine, but
Yeah, McCree's on.
you have your shift and he's already backing out. You could have just shifted at him instead and then place down your shield once
On the
he's
point. One.
Okay, I'm on it.
like if you place down your shield here.
Oh, monk. Yeah, come.
I have no barrier, no barrier.
So okay, here you definitely shouldn't place a shield. You have a lamp. They have a window. You can just soak up damage with your lamp. They're not going to be able to break the lamp from where they are right there. You can just soak up damage for your BAP. So then, like, your BAP can heal. You get a bunch of burst healing, and then you can get your BAP's ult. And putting up a shield, they have a window. It's gonna get destroyed in like seconds, right? It's better to save it for afterwards. After that goes away, so then you can refortify your position, right? But
Oh no.
here
Yeah,
you don't have to
Orisa,
be
Orisa, Orisa,
you don't have to be so afraid of the Orisa. Her entire team is dead, more or less. Your entire team's alive. You can just like stand and shoot her, and you're gonna get your shield up.
Orisa,
in a bit.
Orisa,
I got you, I
Orisa.
got you, I got you.
It's just a minor thing. Doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things.
Activating the barrier. Try my meatball.
Oh. I'm gonna bong this soon.
Hey, you have Siggles.
No, I thought they just used it, right? Or is that
Oh,
us?
I think that was us.
Not giving this one by the way.
So, another thing on Orisa that's kind of minor but can affect, like, you're already in high masters, right? So you're getting to the point where it's like the little things that are stopping you from getting GM or whatever. Her reload, Orisa's reload isn't like super long. It's like
Hey, you have Siggles.
I don't
No,
know,
I
1.5
thought they just
seconds
used
or
it,
something like
right?
that.
Is that us?
Oh, you.
2 seconds, I don't know. Anyway, it's super long, so whenever you're reloading, you want to not interrupt it if at all possible. So that means this bongo that you're about to use, because you're at 0 right now, you interrupt your reload with the bongo, and then you interrupt it again later, a couple seconds later, with the pull,
That was us.
where
This one by the way.
and so now it's been a couple seconds now, and you still have not reloaded, and now you have to wait more to reload. Whereas if you just waited to complete your reload and then use your pull or bongo, you'd be able to output just that tiny little bit more of damage. Again, it's just a minor thing, but try not to interrupt your reloads on Orisa. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes there's no way around it. And sometimes you have to. Sometimes there's no way around it. But if at all possible, try not to interrupt your reloads. Second thing, whenever you see a lamp, shoot it. Just shoot the lamp. Don't shoot the Orisa. You're literally not, it's impossible to kill the Orisa. She's invincible. Shoot the lamp. Even now, you can still shoot the lamp.
Oh, I got pulled into that.
So,
Oh yeah.
Oh. Well.
Hey, there's something on the left. Careful when we're crossing. Oh wait, I don't know where he went.
Hit the corner. Hit the corner from them. I'm going to Wait. Oh, my God, down. Creep flank and left. Creep flank left.
should we back?
I'm gonna flank.
Feel like we should back.
Never mind.
Oh yeah, we don't have that many. Yeah, we should back out.
Did someone die? They're not paying attention? Whoops. Oh, your BAP died. Okay, yeah. You should back out then. He's back though, so.
Yeah, pulling.
Okay, especially when you're pulling for like a Sigma ult or a Mei ult or a Hanzo ult even, you definitely want to be pulling up. You pull down again, but it's a big pull, right?
Yeah,
You pull, like,
pulling.
you pull 3 people. That's a big ult. The only problem is, right after you pull them, like they just walk away, and he still gets them all, right? But if it had it been like a Hanzo ult that you're pulling for instead, you would have missed completely. Whereas if you just pull up,
Yeah, pulling.
if you pull up here, it'll pull them up here, and then they'll have to drop back down, and then they'll all be clumped up in this little cluster here, basically, when the Sigma ult goes off. It's especially important for Mei ult, in Hanzo ult where like the radius isn't as big. Sigma ult has a pretty big radius. I guess Mei ult does too, but especially important for Hanzo ult, you want to be pulling up if at all possible.
I'm on the Orisa. Actually, Mercy, and Bap. They're Bap though. Oh,
They rise.
hammered them, dude.
Wait.
Have a shield. There you go.
Do one. Be safe.
So
Do one. Be safe.
in this scenario, what's your goal as Orisa? What are you trying to accomplish? When you're down a couple teammates, the enemy's down a couple teammates, both teams just trickling in. At this point, all you should be focusing on is just trying to survive. Obviously, if you can get picks, that's huge. It's great. But if you can't, most of the times you're not going to be able to. You don't have a window, you don't have a bongo, you don't do that much damage, especially if their BAP is still alive. So you should definitely just be prioritizing your own survival so that you can stall long enough for your team to get back and help you. Because that's your goal, there's really no need to be going for that invincibility field right now, because it puts you in a pretty dangerous position. What would have been better? Maybe play perpendicular to the square, so it's harder to shoot you through it. By that I mean squares like this, right? Maybe play somewhere here in this area, so then if someone wants to shoot you, they have to be on this side and they're shooting through literally a line. But don't try to be super aggressive, because you die and then the rest of your team dies because they lost their main tank, right? Whereas if you had been able to survive there, your team would have been able to get back and help you out.
They may not have res, we might be able to get in fast.
There's a all behind. Yeah, ignore him.
Let's go. You might have slammed. There's a Doom in our back.
Get that Ryan out of here. Get on point.
There's a BAP on the right side.
Yeah, they have no eye field now.
Zap is one in the back right now.
I'm going for him.
Nice pull.
I'm on the Doom.
Nice job. Nice retake.
I forgot. Yeah, you were.
Don't give him confidence.
I think we lost though, but I remember
there
him
we
on the
go.
kill feed. Yo, Orisa, no gold now. Pulling the McCree, right?
I'm dead.
You have a shield.
Our lance on.
Oh, they rust.
So another minor thing on Orisa, especially after her shield nerf, you want to be watching that cooldown. You want your shield out pretty much in team fight scenarios like this. You want it out as soon as you have it. That way, 1 or 2 seconds might not seem like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, especially with how flimsy Orisa's shield is now, you have to get those shields out as soon as possible. You cannot like wait 1 or 2 seconds after the cooldown comes up before putting it
Plants
down.
on.
Oh, they rust.
It just opens up so many opportunities for the enemy to kill your teammates or get damage in, build a little charge. If you have an Orisa, 2 identical teams, right? If you have one Orisa on one team, who puts down her shield every time, like 1 or 2 seconds after the cooldown comes up, versus the other Orisa who puts it down as soon as she gets it every single time. The Orisa who puts it down as soon as she gets it every single time is going to eventually have more shield uptime in the long run, right? Her shield might break like faster, but she'll get more shields out in like 5 minutes compared to the Orisa who always waits a couple seconds before putting it out.
I'm almost back. You guys can close it.
One thing I will do when I play Orisa, after I put down a shield, I'll actually just like count in the back of my mind seconds. I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it doesn't have to be accurate. But once I get around 6 or 7, near the end, I'll either look at my shield cooldown, like actually like just in the bottom left area here. I'll just look there, and then once this gets to 0, I just press E, flick down, press E, get his shield up, go back to what I'm doing, and then start the count all over again. Or I won't even bother with looking. I'll just start spamming E, right? As soon as I count in the back of my mind, as soon as it gets close to being done. That way, I can get the shield out as soon as I can, as soon as it's available, and I don't
6
have to worry
rounds.
about like, you know, not getting it out. I guess.
I'm with you.
It's obviously, even if you can fix that problem, even if you can guarantee you get your shield out as soon as it's up every single time, that's not gonna, you know, instantly get you top 500 or anything.
Yeah,
But
they
it
go.
will definitely help.
Oh
So I
shit.
don't
I run
have
corner,
money.
you can run corner, you can run corner.
Somehow you didn't die there. You literally just walked from here to here without a shield when they had a square. Somehow they just chose not to shoot at you. Okay, that's fine. But next time, just play with the rest, where the rest of your team is right now, because you're not going to get that lucky.
Original gold.
So what happened there? Why did you lose that fight? Kill their bath, they res. And then you push out to the middle, and then people's on the fighting on the left, and you die. Yeah, that was just, your team didn't really follow you.
We need to play slow because we can't really get on point right now.
System restart initialized.
Play slow.
Yeah, the team didn't follow you. They kind of split themselves up, and then
Try my meatball.
I don't think that's your fault necessarily.
Activating
You're on
the
right.
barrier.
I'm in a bongo.
I got their bongo. Versus one.
This one?
There's still a tracer, just demolishing your backline. Or not demolishing, but being really annoying to your backline.
Where's Sigma's rock?
McCree right. Oh shit.
Come on, Sig.
Good one.
Orisa's up on
Yeah,
top.
Orisa's on the bot. Bap. Bap. Enemy bap.
come on. He's dead.
So
Mercy of Tom.
you're always looking front, shooting what's in front of you, which is fine. But
Where do we play? Close or at
Um,
that point?
their DPS likes flanking a lot,
With you, second
and especially their tracer.
McCree's trying to come up.
It's part of the reason why you lost that, not this fight, but
Sigma's
this fight
mid.
before.
Orisa's mid.
Tracer
I think I'm
McCree flanked to the left while you were
What else
pushing
do they
right.
have?
So I just say pay more attention to your backline. If
Oh, there's one right
there's a
there.
tracer flanking, obviously you're not going to kill her, but getting a couple shots on her, especially since she's so switchy, is more likely, more than enough to just scare her back for a couple seconds before she decides to come back in.
Tracer's on the back. I rock.
Like, you're not going to be able to kill her, but you're going to be able to do enough to be kind of a nuisance to her,
Where's the
and not
Oh, Mercy Rose.
you're not going to let her
I'm a
do
sec.
what she wants to do, which is farm pulse or
Sec.
get a pick, and then
Second die one.
kill someone with pulse or something like that. So you're doing fine. Just be more aware of your surroundings and what's happening to your backline.
Play slowly towards backup
'cause
point. They need to
I'm gonna
take it
play
from us.
split from you.
You don't really want to be pushing forward when you
Or
have
get in it once
when your
you-
backline can't follow up,
Try not to leave
because
by
you'll be
LOS.
taking
Try to
damage
window
and
for
your
back
backsies will
air.
be too busy trying to not die to
Where
the
are you?
tracer to be able to actually heal you up.
Backup point.
I think that might be.
Play it slowly.
Yeah, no, I feel.
Take a slam.
You aim for the invulnerable field, the frisbee, so that's
We
nice.
might be able to get. Sec.
This is one, this is one, this is one.
Got 3.
So I'd say the biggest problem with you in this fight is just target focus. No one's calling any targets on your team, so you don't really know who to target. You see the Tracer's dueling their Tracer and McCree, so you go over there, help her out a bit, and then you see Sigma's fighting their tanks, and so hey, I'll go help out them, and then
This is one, this is one, this is one.
how many times do you switch targets throughout this fight? I'm kind of curious.
Try not to leave my LOS. I'm at a window for back air.
Where are you?
Backup point.
I think
So
that might be.
spamming choke, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I feel.
Still shooting down there, that's fine. Okay, here's where the fight, quote unquote, starts.
We
Sort
might be
of.
able to get.
You
Sec.
switch Tracer, you're like, oh McCree, Tracer, McCree. And you're like, oh Sigma, oh McCree, Orisa, McCree again. Oh Orisa, let's shoot Orisa. And then you're like, oh wait, there's a Sigma, let's shoot Sigma.
This is one, this is one, this is one.
So I didn't count there, but you switch targets a lot of times. If no one's calling targets, you have to be the one to call targets.
Got 3.
That way, your team, like even if you think it's not going to help much, right? Because what's going to happen if I just say Sigma Sigma while I'm shooting Sigma? You might not think a lot's going to happen, but it does help more than you think. I think. Just like even if people don't listen to your target call, even if they don't focus the Sigma after you call the Sigma, somewhere in the back of their mind they'll be like, okay, my Orisa's shooting the Sigma. They have an idea of what you're trying to do, and just having that idea in their minds is good enough for them to figure out, like, okay, what am I going to do next? Am I going to go, after I duel this Tracer, do I go help the Orisa with a Sigma, or do I just leave the Tracer alone and just stop what I'm doing and go help her instead? Either way, it just helps your team to have a target being called. So yeah, definitely try to target call, especially as the main tank. Main tank doesn't always have to be the target caller or the shot caller, but it definitely helps like the team play more like a team when the main tank is more vocal.
Reasonable.
in their barrier.
Should we push on some?
They're gonna pretend.
I think they have res. There she is.
They have no
You
lamp.
could have pulled that Orisa back there. Especially since you said Orisa
no,
no
we're
gold
down.
a couple seconds ago, right? She's still not gonna have it. You could have pulled her back and killed her.
I'll build.
It's a nice pull.
They're dropping. Can you pull any?
I already did.
So instead of saying when someone asks you, can you pull, instead of saying I already pulled, what's more, that's yes, that's kind of valuable information, but it's not super valuable. What would have been better to say is I've pulled in 4 seconds, or like no, I've pulled in 4 seconds, or and then start counting down. Give them like a time frame, because if you just say no, I already pulled, that can mean anywhere from however long it is, the maximum cooldown, to 1 second. I pull up in 1 second, right? So make sure to let your teammate know when you have your pull up again, because it just helps them, again, helps you play more as a team. It helps them formulate a plan in their mind. They're like, okay, my Orisa has pulled in 4 seconds, in 3 seconds, I can go for this, or I can wait, or like I can wait for a rock, wait until the pull, or that's too long, I can't really wait, I just have to go for it now, stuff like that. Rather than just saying no, I don't have it.
They use IPL.
You can rotate the point.
I'm gonna.
Sweet. I got no point.
Mercy's
Oh, don't let
missing.
her res. She res. Orisa's back. I'm on their bath. I'm on their bath. On Marissa. On Soldier.
Nice.
Let me help this creator.
Now, you didn't win that team fight because you started calling out
That's my
targets,
top rank.
but
He's gonna roll in the flash right now.
it's not a bad idea to get the habit of doing it.
We have no BAP though, so.
We're speeding him back.
Patched up.
We can still. Yeah, we put back. Yeah, I have my ults here. Sigma's flanking on right.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm ready for pull.
Where do we go?
We need to push into them, I think.
So, where do you go? You can just stay here. And then once they start pushing into you, you can back up to point. You don't want to be giving up too much space, especially on defense. Your goal is to, like, kind of, especially in King of the Hill, just stall out the timer as long as possible on defense. Because you know for a fact they're going to be wanting to push into either you or the point. So you just want to kind of just, you don't necessarily need to kill them, although that would be nice. That's, obviously that would help you a lot. You just need to kind of stall and be annoying. So what does that mean? That means like just putting out your shield, shooting at them for a bit, pushing them back, pressuring them a bit, and then once your shield breaks, just back up a bit, but don't back up all the way to point yet. Wait for them to aggress into you, and then you can drop to point. Or, especially since you already have Sigil, if you have the ult advantage, like you do right now, probably, you can aggress into them first. You don't have to always do this. You can always wait. But generally, as a rule of thumb in Overwatch, the person who ults first generally wins. So it's okay to be proactive in that way as well. So they're getting close here. She asked for pull. You should definitely pull. Again, you pull up, or you don't pull up. It's fine. I already said it. Try to pull up next time.
Oh no. I have a creep.
So at this point, once you've died, you can still be calling out important information. In hectic team fights like this, it gets hard to keep track of who's dead on your team, who's dead on their team. Are you up? Are you down? Are you even? So what I do whenever I die, because now, especially, like, it's hard to keep track of those things when you're alive, because you're still trying to think of a million other things. Which cooldown do I use now? Who do I shoot? Stuff like that. But once you're dead, you don't have to think about any of those things. So immediately, as soon as you die, press tab. Look at the kill feed. Are you even? Are you up 1? Are you down 1? Are you up 2? Down 2? Let your team know if the fight's winnable, or if they should just like if the fight's winnable, they can keep trying to fight it out. If it's not, then they need to start backing up to point, try to stall, right? Let your team know about like how the fight's going on.
Can we just play on point? Play on point?
Stall the point, yeah.
Six rocks.
Again, it's just that tiny little bit of information that might not seem that important, but it really
6
is.
to 1. Okay, he's half.
You want me to go on here?
Yes, you should go, because you want to stall. Okay, that was good. You made him use Bapple too. But so
I'm top with you.
you don't have to always be talking in game to
There's a Hanzo.
be a good like
I just think over
I have rocks. They don't have
shot caller or whatever. Yes, it helps
They have
you
no
be
eye
super
field.
vocal, but even if you're not super vocal, just telling your team just tiny little bits of very important information every now and then works just as well. So
Wait, there's a guy behind us. Look behind. Look behind. He's one.
Do we hold close? I feel like we should hold close. They have double sniper.
Yeah. We almost have. They're close.
How did I not pull her?
They're rotating. I think they're rotating. I'm gonna take.
Oh no.
oh, your recruit should
Yep,
not have
yep,
been
yep.
all the way in
They're
there.
left?
At least Hunt over. Yeah, left.
They can die.
Oh, probably dead. Yep. So
Sitting over there.
Yep.
They're left?
At least Hunt over. Yeah, left.
it's it's already getting to like they have to touch. They're going to be rushing to touch. It's a 94%. If they don't touch in the next couple of seconds, next 6 seconds actually, they're going to lose, right? So you don't have to put up such an aggressive shield. That's the first thing, because they're going to be rushing to get to point already. So by putting up that shield so far up front, your team's really not going to be able to get much use out of it, because the enemy team is just going to walk right through it. And then your shield's useless for another 10 seconds. You're not going to have a shield. That's the first thing. Second thing. Orisa Bongo is super early. It's way back here. 5 seconds left. 5 seconds left for them to touch the point. Yes, it's usually a good idea to destroy Orisa Bongo as soon as you can, right? But however, in this case, because they have to get the point in 5 seconds, they're not going to be in range of the Bongo in 5 seconds. So there's no need really to push into the entire enemy team through their shields, so that your team can't heal you, and try to sacrifice yourself for the Bongo. It's not worth it. Like, because you did that, Lucio had to be, although he might have beat otherwise, but more importantly, your BAP had to use his field on you, and that means he's not going to have it in the coming up fight here. Because he doesn't have it here, he's unable to save your team from the dragon and the signal. Whereas their BAP still has it, because they didn't have to use it, right? He didn't have to save anyone. And then you die. So and then your team staggers for a bit. It's unfortunate, but moral of the story: when you know that when it's getting close to overtime, and you know that the enemy team is going to have to be rushing to push somewhere, point, the
Do they have
objective,
dragon?
stuff like that, you
Yes,
can sort
we
of
do.
like predict
We should
what they're
just,
going to do,
this way and then go
because
left.
they're kind of like forced into doing it, right?
No eye field.
Don't ever just stand in front of a window unless you have a Baptiste field, and even then, you don't have that much time
Yes,
left
they
yourself.
do.
You have 60. It's about to be 70%. They use their field here or square. Just go left. Just go left. Like just go left. You can just go left, push the point. You're still pushing forward, and you just completely nullified Baptiste ult on the enemy team. However, because you stay here,
We should like fake this way and then go.
it gives by staying here, you give them value from that ult, because then you're dead. And not only do you give them value, but then your team is set back another 10 seconds or so, whatever, for you to respawn and get back to the fight. So your team's unable to push forward now. Whereas if you had just gone left, you wouldn't have this problem at all. Another thing, your team might not want to get back. They're like, oh, there's not much time left. We still have to push forward. We don't have our Orisa, whatever. They might push forward still, and then they get staggered, and then you'd be what could have been, 2 fights. Maybe it's now cut down to only 1 fight. You have 1 fight left after this.
No eye field.
Oh no.
So you miss the opportunity to go forward and left, right? Just back up. You're not going to be able to kill them. You're not going to be able to kill them through eye field. They're invulnerable. Like, just back up. Play out of
They
the
don't
LOS.
see me here.
I don't think they see you actually.
They actually didn't see me.
They don't see you at all.
Wait, Sega's following you guys.
Hey, can we go? Should we
There you go, your team's staggered.
Oh, too
I
late.
guess-
I got top.
Now you're not going to be able to touch in time, probably.
You gotta go touch now.
Six, six,
Look,
six.
notice what they're doing. They know. Oh, the enemy Orisa, the enemy team in general, they're going to be scrambling to touch. So what does the enemy team do? They back up. And what does that do to you guys? It makes it really hard for you guys to
Oh, I got pulled off.
because then you guys are all scrambling in at different separate times to push. Whereas the enemy team mostly is already on point together. So it's like they're taking multiple 6v1 fights rather than one whole 6v6 fight. 6v5 fight because you're increased stagger.
That's so unfortunate.
So
Fucking hell, dude. Oh, GG's, you guys.
I'm not going to say it's completely your fault that you lost, but I will say this. If you didn't try to go for
Yep.
if you didn't try to go for the bongo
left?
here,
Please hunt over. Yeah,
like just
left.
pushing through everyone on the enemy team, try to kill this bongo. And if you didn't force both beat and Baptiste ult out of your teammates, ideally they shouldn't have used both at the same time anyway, so that's not really your fault. But if you didn't do this, if you didn't die and stagger your team to the Baptiste
You at all.
here, like, had you just gone left, maybe you would have won. I don't know. So overall, what's the takeaway from this? Let's see. Little things matter, so don't interrupt your reload if at all possible on Orisa, unless you don't interrupt it unless you absolutely have to save a life or to save your life or whatever. Use the shoot up shield technique thing. You can get extra shields that way, or you can get the most value out of your shield that way, I guess. What else can you do? Make sure you're throwing out your shield basically on cooldown. If you're holding down like a position, or if you're like in the middle of a team fight, if you're like moving forward or backward, then yes, you can save it for a bit until you get into the position that you want to fortify, and then place down your shield. But if you're like in the middle of a team fight, just count in your head if you have to, or just always just be watching your cooldowns so that you can place down a shield as soon as you get it. Try to predict what you think the enemy's going to do. It's really hard sometimes, but sometimes it's really easy. Like when you have 95% left and you have control of the objective, you know for a fact they're going to be scrambling to rush to point. So you can either play on point altogether as a team, or you can try to stall them from getting to point. Don't try to like play too aggressively though, because back to the pushing forward into the bongo thing, you knew they were going to be pushing up to you, but then you place your shield in a pretty aggressive position.
Oh
What are
no.
you doing over
like
there?
way forward,
Yep,
and
yep,
then
yep.
because of that,
Left?
At least honk over. Yeah, left.
like you feel like a need to push forward into it, because then otherwise you're not really getting that much value out of it, because then they're just walking through it, right? And then as a result of that, you see they have a bongo here. I have a shield. Let's go get rid of it. Problem is they also have 2 shields blocking you from your heals, and then your 2 supports ult. Last thing, be aware of your positioning.
I don't think they see you. Actually.
There's been a couple times in this
Wait,
game
Sig is
where
Sig is following you guys.
like this isn't the only
Can we
place
go- should we go-
where it
I don't
happened,
know.
where you
Do
just
they have dragon?
you just stand in LOS of field. The only time it's okay to do that is when you have a field yourself set up somewhere where you know that the enemy can't break it, and then you can just soak up damage and get your Baptiste his ult or your other support their ult.
Yes, they do.
As a general rule of thumb,
We should
whenever
like,
Baptiste
face
ults,
this way and then go left.
run around a corner. Right, just go straight left here. Don't back up from it. Go, like, don't go to the Prometheus school of running away from things. Right, it's here. Don't go this way. Going forward sometimes can work, but ideally you go to the right or to the left, around a corner, like around this corner. Right. Going forward through it also works. Replacing your shield in front of it and then your team walking forward into it also works. But just try to be aware of your positioning more, and that's kind of really vague and probably not very helpful advice, but just especially with how flimsy Orisa's shield is nowadays, you have to be really good at positioning yourself when you don't have your shield, or expecting, okay, my shield's about to break here, I should move out of the sight, out of LOS, so that once my shield's up again I can push forward and take more space or whatever, you know. Hopefully this was helpful. I don't play a lot of Orisa, but I have recently, so those are just my takeaways from watching this. Definitely not a pro Orisa or an Orisa main. I wouldn't consider myself. I actually hate playing Orisa. I hate Orisa in general. That's for another time. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully it was helpful, and yeah, have a nice day.